Hey, it's JD here, and
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app.
Yes.
Sorry. Eric made a funny face at me, so he broke me out of my you threw off my groove, Eric.
Those things are true.
Yeah. They are all true. So first hour, we went over Utah State football. Their schedule is out. I'm going to have some analysis later, likely on Cash Valley Daily. We'll probably go over it later on the show as well about how their strength of schedule compares this year versus last year. Of course, we're kind of stapling last year's, team records and rankings onto next year, but it's the best information we got until, July or August. But we'll run some of those comparisons. Is it going to be more difficult? Is it going to be roughly the same? Some interesting trends there that will be looked into later. We also looked at some more details from North Dakota State's deal with the Mountain West. They're spending a lot of money and being forced to spend even more money for the privilege of playing in the Mountain West. But if it all works out, if they take their 10 FCS championships in 15 years type of success and bring it to FBS, then you know what? They won't care how much money they have to pay.
Good for them. They'll find a way.
Yeah, this hour, we're starting off with an interesting poll that was put out, or results of a poll done with the Mountain West head coaches. The field of 68, and I think also on 3, I don't know, Jeff Goodman in the circle that he runs in. They've been doing this with a bunch of different conferences, not just the Mountain West. They've done it with like almost 2/3 of the conferences in basketball, in Division I basketball now. So this isn't a new thing they've been doing with just the Mountain West, but they pulled all 12 head coaches and asked them one simple question with basically no guidance. Just asked them a question and left it to them, whatever criteria they wanted to go with. They said, which job is the best coaching job to have among all the Mountain West teams? And have you seen this, Eric?
I have.
Okay, so I can't quiz you on where all this
Yes.
is. Probably to no one's surprise, San Diego State was the top team. Maybe a slight surprise that they were unanimous, although I don't think that much. I'm not sure I would run into a person who would say San Diego State isn't the best job. But not only were they the top team in this poll, they were unanimous. All 12 first place votes went to San Diego State.
Here's what one anonymous coach said about this. He said, the tradition and history, they have a great place to recruit to. They have as good resources as anyone, one of the best home court advantages.
Yeah. So that's where I tried to read all those quotes to see, could I tell if one of those was Jared Calhoun? Because after a while, you learn a coach's cadence.
You can identify their speech patterns. Yeah.
But I wasn't sure. I couldn't be 100% sure, partly because coach speak is a language that all coaches speak. But
yeah.
and sometimes if they kept in the filler words, I could tell you if it was Jared Calhoun. He says, and right in the middle of every single sentence. See if any of the fans, any listeners, see if you find out my filler words, because I know I have them. Usually it's just I don't have anything unique, but
okay,
we all have our own filler words.
Yes.
That's usually I can tell a Jared Calhoun quote. Of course, I usually rip that out of the quotes and I put them. But yeah, so
no real surprise.
Yeah.
San Diego State number 1. But the biggest thing for me, most of this, okay, I kind of get some of these.
Yeah, like Air Force is 12.
Yeah, I get Air Force and San Jose are going to be in the bottom.
And you can tell Air Force was not only last, they were dead last on every single person's ballot.
Just like San Diego State was number one on everybody's ballot, Air Force was also number one. But New Mexico coming in at number 2. Rich tradition, great basketball arena. I get that. But Utah State is not number 3.
Yeah.
This is what raised my eyebrows. Grand Canyon came in at number 3. Utah State at number 4.
And I'll tell you, there's basically one reason that Utah State isn't number 2. Because the same reason that they're behind New Mexico is the same reason that they're behind Grand Canyon. And it's NIL.
Resources.
Yeah. For basketball specifically, New Mexico has more resources, and so does Grand Canyon. And the thing is, a lot of the advantages the Utah State has, so do Grand Canyon and New Mexico. You got the Spectrum. New Mexico's got the Pit. They're doing just fine with their home court advantage. Grand Canyon, they've got a great venue as well. But both of those schools have more money to give to their rosters.
So what's interesting is this being polled. This is a poll of coaches, right? Mm-hmm. So this is their opinion. And so I think it's kind of telling like where their headspace is. So they're thinking about resources. If you're thinking about history, tradition, level of consistent success, pathway to the NCAA tournament on a regular basis, Utah State's right behind San Diego State.
Yeah.
And you could, maybe flip a coin back and forth between Utah State or New Mexico for number 2. It's a close call. And you can make strong arguments for either one. But to see Grand Canyon ahead of Utah State is what surprised me. And here's what one coach said, again, anonymously. He says of Grand Canyon, they have more money than most people know. They pack in the arena and really resource the program.
This is the one I partially suspected was from Jared Calhoun, but I wasn't 100% sure. It could be a few different coaches.
So again, these are coaches on this poll. So a coach is thinking about who has access to resources, but also has a good arena and has some basketball tradition. And Grand Canyon has more resources than Utah State. They may not have the full tradition, but they do have some recent success. They've been to the NCAA tournament here recently. They've won a game in the NCAA tournament here recently. So this is a program with money, and they're not afraid to use it or flaunt it in front of your face.
Yeah, it's a program that arguably has the most money for NIL specifically that they're able to pay for their roster. It's kind of part of the thing with like how coaches will bring up the Big East and the A-10. You know, Grand Canyon as a university spends $30 million on their athletics, but they don't have football. So where they don't have all those expenses for football, and sure, they don't have the overall revenue because, Utah State's at $50-60 million, so they're like double, but a lot of that's going to football and some of these other sports. Grand Canyon recently cut their men's volleyball program, so that's money they could push over into men's basketball to where they have one of, I think, maybe even the most expensive roster in the Mountain West. So that's why Grand Canyon is up there. Now, head coaching pay, I think, also plays a factor, though Jared Calhoun's actually getting, I think second behind only Brian Dutcher, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's up there.
So that's why Utah State's not number 2, number 3. It just simply comes down to how much money can you spend on your roster. Jared Calhoun's been very vocal about how Utah State doesn't really rank that high in the Mountain West. They're in the bottom half. I think last year they might have been bottom third in money that they're able to spend on their roster. It's getting better. It's part of why you have this Show Me initiative. They got to get more money for the basketball roster and obviously for, all the other sports as well. But both basketball and football got to go up. To go over the rest of the rankings real quick. So I mentioned San Diego State 1, New Mexico 2, Grand Canyon 3, Utah State 4. Then you got Boise State and Colorado State. They're 5 and 6. UNLV at 7, Nevada at 8, Wyoming at 9, Fresno State 10, San Jose 11, and Air Force at 12.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that surprised me was to see where Utah State landed on this list, that they weren't higher. But I think the other thing that was kind of interesting to me was to see the difference between Boise State and Colorado State. And In fact, even to see UNLV higher than Nevada. Like, Nevada has more basketball tradition. They have more basketball success, but they don't have the resources.
Yeah, UNLV's got more money.
Again, based on resources where these coaches' headspace is, then that makes some sense. Like Colorado State, they've got a good basketball tradition. Boise State, probably a little bit more recent, but Colorado State usually has good basketball. So just a little bit surprised there with 5 through 8, just how that ordering played out. But it's an interesting list just to see where coaches think of their jobs in their conference, like who's got the best job or what's got the best opportunity for coaches. But these anonymous quotes are revealing in that these coaches are thinking about financial resources more than what's your fan support look like? Do you have a good arena that's always full? Does this is there an expectation in that community that you have a successful team and a successful program? So that's kind of interesting to see where these coaches are voting based on their peers in the conference.
Yeah, the old things that mattered that everyone talked about for conference realignment or for coaching jobs, they aren't necessarily the things that matter as much anymore. On the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, real quick, 8632, kind of on this topic, asking if we can read the comments on Utah State from the coaches, but I don't believe they had any.
I didn't see any of those.
Because they didn't have comments on like every single, on a lot of these polls they would have like, why did you rank this number one? And then maybe one other section. So in the article that's on 3, there was a subsection where it's like, why is San Diego State number one? And then the other one was, why is Grand Canyon so high? As far as I'm aware, they didn't fish for any comments about New Mexico or Utah State or really anybody else. So unfortunately, nothing beyond really the quotes that we read.
Yeah, really only the two. Yeah, you're right. Only the 2 schools were mentioned.
Yeah. 9315 saying Albuquerque, not that great of a city though, and Phoenix really hot in the summer. It's true. But I think was one of the comments about Grand Canyon that Phoenix was a decent city or.
Well, yeah, here's the comment. It's in Phoenix. There isn't a ton of pressure, and they have a ton of NIL.
Okay, that was okay. I thought I knew the Phoenix had gotten mentioned. I couldn't remember if they said whether or not it was a good or a bad thing. But yeah, the Heat's not nice. But I mean, hey, basketball, you play it in the winter.
Yeah,
that's when the basketball players are there.
You know,
for coaches, obviously, you got to be there the whole year.
I have family who live in that area, and they're like, look, our summer is just like your winter. You don't just hang out outside all the time in the winter. You just go from car to building and stay in the building, and we need to go somewhere, you just get in your car where you can adjust your temperature. Same thing down here.
Yeah.
In the summertime.
Just don't have black interior in your car in Phoenix.
No. Ooh. Yeah.
9315 saying, did I hear Brian Dutcher going to be retiring? I've not heard anything.
Heard that.
If let us know where you heard that. That would certainly have been news to me. A few other teams to look at. Because I mentioned how this poll, they've been doing this for like a bunch of different conferences. They've not made it through every single conference. For instance, they haven't done one for the West Coast Conference, which I would have liked for the purpose of this because there's a couple of future Pac-12 teams that we could have seen.
Yeah.
But I think we can all imagine that Gonzaga would rank number 1 in the West Coast. But
yeah,
it would be interesting to see where does Washington State and Oregon State fit in there, even though they're kind of the adopted children that are only going to be there for a couple of years.
They're foster children.
Foster, that's probably the better term there.
Yeah, I would imagine Gonzaga number 1. St. Mary's would probably be number 2.
Yeah.
But I would imagine Washington State, Oregon State would probably be after that. But
you'd think, it's
not entirely sure.
Yeah, we'll have to wait on that.
Consider resources and things like that and where they're headed. But
yeah, here's some other ones. We'll look at some other future Pac-12, future Mountain West schools. So from the Big West, you've got Hawaii, who ranks number 3 in the Big West behind UC Santa Barbara and UC San Diego. And then UC Davis is 5th, so a couple spots behind. So some middling but upper tier coaching jobs in the Big West, but they're heading to the Mountain West next year. In the Sun Belt, that's where Texas State is. They rank 8th in the Sun Belt. So
it's not good.
Yeah, James Madison, Old Dominion, Marshall, Arkansas State, Louisiana, Appalachian State, and Georgia State all rank. Well, Georgia State and Appalachian State only barely ahead of Texas State. But they are ahead of them. So Texas State middling, slightly below average. And then UTEP heading to the Mountain West next year. They rank 6th out of 12 teams in Conference USA behind Liberty, Western Kentucky, New Mexico State, Middle Tennessee, and Missouri State. So, and just to throw some of these out there, BYU, they rank 4th in the Big 12. I didn't put the whole Big 12 poll on there, but I put their BYU at 4th. I think like Kansas was number 1. And I forget who's number 2 and number 3. But BYU's
Imagine Arizona's got to be up there.
They probably were. That's a pretty solid job.
Yeah.
Utah is 14th. Ooh. And then for no reason in particular, Oregon is 8th in the Big 10. Cincinnati is 8th in the Big 12. No reason to put that out there. Just saying. For anyone considering those
listening
jobs,
and maybe considering options and opportunities to go there.
That's where those teams rank, bottom half of their conference. So just food for thought. 9315 saying, I thought the play-by-play guy during the New Mexico Grand Canyon game last. Wait, hold on.
Grand Canyon game last night.
He was saying that's when he heard Brian Dutcher was maybe going to be retiring. Okay.
Oh.
I was reading the text without remembering the previous one. I was like, what is this going on about? I
didn't hear that. I didn't watch the full game start to finish. So
I watched the
when I was listening and watching, I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, I watched the second half. I was calling a girls' basketball game, got back, was able to watch the second half. But it could have been a different one. Maybe it was a San Diego State game. But yeah, maybe that was probably just them speculating on whether or not he'd be retiring.
Yeah,
they probably wouldn't have heard anything there. Before we go to break, there's one text. It draws on a topic from the last hour. It's kind of why we waited till the end here. But 2603 saying, if I read it right, did North Dakota State have to pay $5 million to the NCAA to move up as well? What's up with the NCAA charging that? And saying, it seems like the Mountain West fleeced North Dakota State. Yeah, that's kind of the conclusion I came from reading all that. And yes, you did read it right.
You read that right.
So North Dakota State has to pay $12.5 million to the Mountain West. That is their basically bribe, I guess, to...
It's their entrance fee.
Yeah, their...
Bribe is the better term.
Yeah, because there's not a standard entrance fee to the Mountain West. They're just saying, you got to pay us this much money. I mean...
If you'll invite us, this is what we'll give you in return.
And as we mentioned at the end of the first hour, $7 million of that has to be paid upfront, July 1st or whatever their entry date is.
Yep, July 1st.
Hand your $7 million check to Gloria Nevarez, and you can join the conference. If you don't, then you become like Utah Valley over in the WAC. Whatever their situation still is.
Yeah, it's so messy.
And then they'll pay the remaining of that $12.5 million just over the remaining 5 years, over the next 5 years.
$1.1 million installments.
Yeah. So they're paying $12.5 million there, but then they have to pay an additional $5 million. This check goes to the NCAA, and I don't know if that is upfront or if they get to pay that in installments. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't checked.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either, but I believe that's up front. Now, it used to be fairly cheap to move up.
It was like either 50. It was either 50 grand. It was either $5 grand, 50 grand, or 500 grand. I
don't think it was 500 initially.
Yeah, it was something that was basically negligible. It was basically like a filing fee, essentially. But now it's gone from filing fee to like 1/5 of your budget.
Right. I mean, back in the day, if you want to say that, there used to be just over 100, maybe 105 football playing schools in the country. And then a lot of these schools wanted to move up. They saw the lucrative opportunity with TV revenue and bowl payouts. And like, we want our hands on that. Even if we're not real successful, we get that distribution. And that means more to us than what we're doing right now at the lower level.
Yeah.
And so a lot of teams started moving up, but it was watering it down. And so especially Power 4 conference schools were like, this is getting ridiculous. It's too easy for them to play in our same league. We need to have some level of financial skin in the game to be at our level.
Yeah. We need to keep the riffraff out of here.
Yeah, basically. And so a few years back, they moved it up from that low number all the way up to $5 million. So a little bit more aggressive. And that backed off quite a few teams from considering it. But it's starting to ramp up again. Like James Madison moved up. They're kind of a recent one. Now, obviously, with North Dakota State, Sacramento State is making overtures where they want to. But the NCAA has said, look, if you want to come up, you have to have an invitation first.
Yeah. So that's where North Dakota State, they get to play in the Mountain West because some Mountain West invited them. Sacramento State, they can't because nobody's invited them.
Right. Yeah, because there was a pattern where these schools would move up and they'd be independent, just trying to find a home. They didn't have one yet, but man, they were going to play at this level with football, and it was just everybody saw that that's just really hard.
Yeah.
And so they want to move away from independence by and large, not looking at Notre Dame, but they want to move away from that. They want to make sure that schools, if they come up, and it's for their well-being, if they come up, they need to be in a structure, in a system that's going to help them with that transition and potentially be a competitive team.
Yeah, if you're going to go...
wallowing in independence at that level is really hard.
Yeah, if you're going to be independent, like BYU was able to go independent because a lot of history, they had their own kind of independent TV deal.
They were a national brand, nationally recognized brand.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they've been doing it forever, so obviously they know how to do it. But like even UConn, I think, wasn't New Mexico State independent for like a year or so?
Yeah.
It's something that you do very temporarily, and even for those schools with some level of establishment, wasn't good for either of them. And isn't UConn still independent? Or do they finally join a conference? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Everyone wants to try and get UConn to join their conference, not for their football team, but for their basketball team.
For the basketball
but they're not leaving the Big East.
They are independent. Just them and Notre Dame. Those are the only independent schools in college football.
So they've really trimmed down the number of independents.
At least in 2025, that's the case.
Yeah. So let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk. We kind of lightly mentioned, Anther and Five's text mentioned the Grand Canyon, New Mexico State game. We'll talk about that
New Mexico, not New Mexico State.
New Mexico, sorry. Too many states.
Yes.
If they're in New Mexico State, they maybe could have joined the Pac-12, the Pac State Conference.
That's right.
We'll talk about the Lobos and the Lopes when they played yesterday at Grand Canyon's Arena. Mighty Havocs taking on the Lobos. The Lobos were trying to break a two-game home losing streak, and trying to break that streak by going on the road. We'll talk about how successful that was, along with the standings for the Mountain West, next here on the Full Court Press.
Hey, it's JD here, and with the new year comes that familiar feeling of wanting a fresh start. We all make resolutions: eat better, be healthier, do better, but for some, the resolution that matters most is getting sober. That's why I want to tell you about Renaissance Ranch. They specialize in a faith-based, clinically proven addiction recovery. They know what it takes to break free for good. Call or visit renaissanceranch.net and make this the year that addiction no longer controls your story. Renaissance Ranch: hope, healing, and recovery.
This Valentine's Day, give them something that lasts longer than flowers, something warmer than chocolate, and something that creates meaningful moments all year long. A Serenoni blanket, soft, luxurious, and made for cozy moments together. Shop online at serenoni.com or stop by our showroom on 10th West next to iFit and feel all the different cozy fabrics before you buy. Wrap them in love this Valentine's. Wrap them in Serenoni. For more information, go to serenoni.com. That's SARANONI.com.
You're on your way to work when that little light pops on. The one that says, hey, you need service. But who has time to sit in a waiting room? West Motor Ford will pick up your vehicle from home or work, service it, and bring it right back. Pickup and delivery are completely free within a 35-mile radius. That's anywhere from Malad to Montpelier, Hiram to Tremonton. Plus, get $25 off any repair over $250. Schedule your free pickup and delivery at westmotorford.com or call 208-852-3853.
Some companies pack it in when winter hits, not Top Shed. Cold, snow, wind, we build anyway, on site, all winter, all year. Logan, Tremonton, Preston, Malad, wherever you are in northern Utah, southern Idaho, or Wyoming, we bring the crew to you. Because around here, Mother Nature might slow traffic, but she can't cancel Top Shed. Top Shed, making sheds great again. Call 435-760-7766 or visit TopShedUSA.com.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 5th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
My husband had a gun. Him and his friends would go shooting. When he stored the gun, he didn't know. In a million years, we never thought that Emily could. There's a hole in our family that can never, ever be filled.
65 Americans a day die by gun suicide. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn more at infamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Indoor air in our area can be up to 5 times dirtier than outdoor air, especially during the dry winter months. Dry air keeps dust and allergens floating longer, sending them deeper into your lungs and making sickness more likely. Mountain Valley Heating and Air installs high-efficiency steam humidifiers that use 1 gallon of water with no waste to improve air quality. Call 435-753-5170 for a free in-home air quality assessment from Mountain Valley Heating and Air. Again, that's 435-753-5170. So last night in the Mountain West, we had a marquee game. 3rd and 4th place teams in the Mountain West who could bump themselves, I guess, well, maybe they're all tied for like 3rd to 5th because Nevada's in the mix somewhere there. But essentially we'll call it the 3rd and 4th place matchup because I want it to be that way. Because it's,
okay.
It's funner to say it like that. New Mexico and Grand Canyon playing at GCU Arena. And yeah, so it's the Havocs and all that fun stuff. Grand Canyon had a lot of success against the top teams in the Mountain West in their home arena. They did randomly lose to Colorado State back at the beginning of Mountain West play, but they beat Utah State, ranked Utah State. They beat San Diego State. So how would they fare against New Mexico? The Lobos, who were reeling from 2 straight home losses, getting blown out by Utah State in their own building, and then losing a tight one to Boise State the game after that. So they head on the road to try and snap that 2-game losing streak in one of the toughest environments outside of their own. Turns out New Mexico was pretty well up to the task for the most part.
Yeah, I got a chance to watch a good chunk of that game. We kind of alluded to that. But that was a back and forth game.
Initially, it was not.
Initially, it wasn't. Yeah, New Mexico had their way. They got out to this big lead, and they were in firm control in the first half. Like Grand Canyon took forever to do anything offensively. They were like 5 minutes into the game before they scored a point. So it was ugly start for Grand Canyon. But New Mexico, they race out. They have a 38-18 point lead with 4 minutes to go at half. So they have this big lead. But after half, Grand Canyon slowly but surely starts to chip away at it. They start making big shots, big threes, attacking the rim, getting fouled, getting and one opportunities. And before you know it, Grand Canyon's on a heater, and New Mexico can't do anything. And it's anybody's ball game. It's a tie game. It's back and forth. Grand Canyon moves ahead slightly. And then Grand Canyon just went ice cold.
Yeah, so Grand Canyon led 62-61 with 3 minutes to go. Let's see. Hold on. Let me go all the way back here.
Yeah, 6-11.
So with 6-11, that's when they got to 62. And so over the final 6 minutes and 11 seconds, 2 points.
2 points. Like, my gosh, you can't manufacture more points?
Yeah. And
get to the free throw line, make a bucket?
Yeah. And so they still led up until that's where I targeted that 3:11 mark. They led 62-61. They'd held a bit of a lead there, held like a 4 or 5 point lead, or 2 or 3 point lead. We're holding New Mexico, but then the Lobos finally started to make some plays. Jake Hall made some clutch shots. He made a really clutch shot that put New Mexico up by, I think, 3, and then they got a couple more stops, hit some free throws, and that's where they get that 6 point margin. But yeah, this turned from basically New Mexico flipping the script from how they lost to Utah State and nearly pulling that against Grand Canyon. Whereas you mentioned 20-point lead in the first half, but they gave it up because they stopped being able to score. And like Grand Canyon didn't have like this one almighty run to clear away that. Again, it was a 13-point margin at half, but a 20-point margin at one stage. Kind of the biggest run they went on was the one where they finally took the lead, where they were still trailing by 10 or 11, and they go from, I think it was 51-40 to 55-54. So whatever the math comes out on that kind of run, but like it was slowly chipping away from 20 to 15 to 13 to 7, 5, 1. Suddenly they take a lead.
Yeah, and that crowd was into it. The players were flying around, looked like they had confidence, and they were attacking New Mexico. I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Olin, putting the ball in the hands of his freshmen and having him make clutch plays.
Yeah, it is
in a hostile environment. Like they found out a way to like have great execution early, watch it disappear, but not completely panic and lose the game.
Yeah, and that's where freshmen can struggle. Like I'd say them, the fact that they're freshmen, I think played a fact. I mean, we talked about it on the show. That was something that could factor into why they lost to Utah State and couldn't get anything back, because once they got punched in the face a few too many times by Utah State, they kind of didn't have anything left, didn't know what to do when the crowd wasn't, the pit wasn't getting as loud as it normally does. That energy was away, kind of like dormant. They needed just like one 7-0 run to get the crowd back in, then they could turn a 7-0 run into like 11-0-1 and all that, but that never happened and that youth wasn't there. But in this game, in a hostile environment where that crowd is never going to be in your favor, they managed to kind of remanufacture the momentum they needed. And yeah, putting the ball in the hands of Jake Hall, a freshman, and say, all right, isolate, go make a shot, and have a step back mid-range baseline shot. Trust him to take that shot and that it is a good shot.
Yeah.
Because I know the announcer was like, analytics says you shouldn't take that shot. When it's like, well, no, when it's Jake Hall, analytics says you should take that shot.
Yeah, there's analytics, then there's manalytics.
Yeah.
And you believe in the man to make the play.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what analytics says. Like, the analytics agrees with that. That's the funny thing is people say analytics says don't take a mid-range jump shot. But analytics says, well, who's taking that mid-range jump shot?
Right. If that player is a good stroke, has a high probability of making that shot, then yes, he should.
Yeah.
What a game by New Mexico going on the road. Now, Grand Canyon, they only got 6 points off their bench.
Just leaning way heavily on Mekhi Williams, who went 1 of 9 from 3. He can be really prone to taking a lot of three-pointers and missing a lot. You still get 20 from him. Brian Moore going for 16, Jaden Henley. They're usual suspects, but yeah, basically everyone outside. They had 12 points outside of those 3 players. 2 of their starters combined for 6 points.
And interesting, Dennis Evans, who looked like he was an all-NBA shot blocker, only played 2 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like he's
1 foul.
He's probably going to see a resurgence when he comes.
Disappeared.
He's going to come play against the Aggies. Like he's basically only good against the Aggies.
Yeah, just based on how Utah State plays, how New Mexico plays, you run different lineups.
Yeah, New Mexico's got a bit more size. So if you have size that can bully a guy like Dennis Evans, then yeah, you probably go with some of these guys. But yeah, Grand Canyon leans so heavily on their starters. 4 of them playing 36 plus minutes.
And that's Grand Canyon's second loss in a row. They're back-to-back losses for them. And so they had a standalone game last night, but looking at their schedule again, they've got to play here this Saturday. Of course, it's at San Jose.
Yeah, they're going to play. So they get I don't know if you call it a game off, but San Jose has not beaten anyone in the conference not named Air Force. So that might be of course, they do have to travel for that. So that might add more wear and tear than the game against San Jose. But then they got to go at San Diego State.
Right, the next Tuesday, they're at the Aztecs.
And they might do what Utah State did when they went from New Mexico to Wyoming. They may not go home. Although
that would make sense.
Grand Canyon does charter everywhere, but they might just stick around in California, go from San Jose to San Diego, and just do it that way. And that could, I don't know if that would make the game at San Diego State easier or harder, but that's a big challenge for them. And they've also got to come to Utah State. So Grand Canyon's got some tough games in their schedule.
Yeah, the top teams, it's not an easy path no matter where you look at it. But Utah State on top in the standings, a half a game ahead San Diego State. They have one more win, have the same amount of losses. Then there's some separation. New Mexico is third. They're 2 games behind the Aggies. Nevada is 2.5. And then there's Grand Canyon, who is 3.5 games behind Utah State, followed by Boise State and UNLV, who are tied at both 7 and 6.
Interestingly
enough, They play each other
they do.
tomorrow night.
Okay, and
a standalone game.
And they played each other. Boise, that was one of their 4 losses in a row. That was the final loss they took in that 4-game losing streak, was at UNLV. So they'll be gunning for some revenge there. Of course, then they get to come here to Utah State next Wednesday for a rematch, especially of that classic that happened last January.
Oh, yeah. So tomorrow night, one game. It's UNLV at Boise, 8 o'clock on FS1. Last night, there was a standalone Mountain West game. And it's a very busy Saturday. And, of course, Utah State's got a non-conference game wedged in there. I think they're the only ones who've got a non-conference game in the middle of conference play.
Yeah, I think they're the only one, and they're the only one, and that's because they took their bye and said, we're going to play Memphis. Of course, it was Memphis who reached out to Utah State and kind of basically said, this is the date we have open. If you can, say yes. If you can't, say no. Utah State said yes.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have a choice to move it anywhere else. Because then they wouldn't have been able to play Memphis. But it's kind of unfortunate that what was supposed to be a marquee game is turned into a potential pothole and a potential hindrance, because you're not really gaining a ton from beating them. And even if you beat them, extra wear and tear, you don't get a bye week. And if you lose to them, then it's all that wear and tear plus the fact that you lost to a quad 3 game.
Yeah, but the game's already sold out, right? So you're going to get some revenue from your home game, but if nothing else, the committee should see this as, well, at least you tried.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have predicted they'd have the season they'd have, but at least you tried, and you should get some marks for that.
Yeah. We got to take a break here. When we come back, the Utah Jazz, the team that is ruining the integrity of the NBA, they're at it again. Those dang Utah Jazzers, they put a little tumor growth in Jaren Jackson Jr.'s knee. So we'll talk about that next here on the Full Court Press.
Snow and black ice are here to stay for a while. If your tires aren't ready, neither is your vehicle. At Express Auto and Tire, they work with all vehicles and all tire sizes, making winter traction and safety their top priority. Name brand tires are always less at Express Tire. As a Point S Tire location, you're backed by a nationwide warranty. Get winter ready with no appointment needed. 3200 North Main.
Express Tire, tires for less.
Where tires and service come together.
Old McDarrell has a farm and appliance farm.
With down-home country prices and big city selection.
E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Old McDarrell has a farm. An appliance farm. No overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Need a great deal near USU? Mention Aggie 79 and score a room at the Baum Hotel for just $79. Enjoy charming, homey hospitality in downtown Logan. You'll love the clean, spacious rooms and friendly, attentive staff. Take advantage of free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, and a seasonal outdoor pool. At that price, it can't be beat. $79 rooms with Aggie 79 at the Baum Hotel. Value every day of the week. Call 435-752-5220. That's 752-5220.
Hi, this is Robbie with LSS Insurance. If you're about to turn 65, the Medicare phone calls, mailers, and emails can be unreal. Out-of-market telemarketers simply do not understand Utah, Idaho, or your individual situation. We have real answers and real solutions with local help. At LSS Insurance, we are your health insurance specialists. Call us 752-9493. Having local help makes all the difference, and there's no cost to you. Call 752-9493 or visit lssins.com.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back into the Full Court Press. A reminder that Cache Valley's largest and most complete power sports service shop is now open at Young Power Sports Logan. They sponsor all brands, all makes, all sizes, motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs, and more. No guesswork, no shortcuts. just trained technicians who fix it right the first time. Can-Am, Kawasaki, Polaris, Ski-Doo, they handle them all. In and out, done right, guaranteed. Pickup and delivery is available within a 25-mile radius of their store here in Logan over by the South Walmart. Get back on the road, the trail, or the track fast. Schedule your service call now at 755-7111. That's Young Power Sports Logan Service Department, 755-7111. And on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 5338 saying congrats to Jordan Stolz for bringing home another speed skating gold medal. Since he's only 21, he'll be in the prime of his career when the Olympics come to Utah.
Awesome.
And that's the next Winter Olympics, right?
No.
Oh.
No, there's going to be, I forget where it's next.
So it'll be
Utah in 2034.
Oh, 2034. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. So yeah, he'll be 29. Is that the prime for speed skating? 29 years old? Because the prime of your career is different for some sports.
Yeah, for different sports.
For football, NBA, for football, it's like 24 to, well, I guess in that sense, it also depends on position because the prime for a quarterback is like 29 to 34 these days, at least. For a running back, it's 22 to 26.
Yeah, I could not tell you.
If you're Bobby Wagner, it's 37.
What the situation looks like for speed skating.
But for like a gymnast, your prime is like 17 years old.
Yeah, it's true. Very young.
And you basically retire by the time you're 22, like most, unless you're like really dang good. So I don't know when the prime for speed skating is, though.
Yeah, couldn't tell you. Need an assist there from 5338.
Help us out with your speed skating expertise. But indeed, congratulations to gold medal winner Jordan Stolz. The Utah Jazz. I was trying to think of a transition related to gold medals, and I couldn't come up with one.
There isn't. Maybe they deserve a gold star for what they're doing with the tank. So I've seen some stuff, and maybe you've heard the reports today. Jaren Jackson Jr. Is undergoing a knee procedure, and he'll be out for the rest of the year. He'll be back in time for fall training camp. They said he'll be 100%.
Yeah, basically,
there's no worries. It's a minor procedure.
Yeah, it's basically there's a growth in his knee. There's a whole medical terminology, but essentially it's the kind of like you got to get it taken care of because it can cause stiffness, pain, a bunch of different minor things. It's nothing like life-threatening, career-threatening. It's just a nuisance. Get it taken care of, and 2-3 months, recovery. So like honestly, he'll be close to ready by the time the season is done. But then you got the full off season and all that.
Yeah. So the question is, like when you do trades for players or you sign players, it's routine that you run them through a physical. And that's when sometimes trades fall apart or deals fall apart. Like, we're getting damaged goods. This isn't what we originally signed up for. So I'm guessing the Jazz have known this all along in the deal. And
well, they said they found it after the trade. That's what the Jazz said.
So the Jazz said?
Yeah.
So they're apparently not paying too close attention to their physicals.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
it's convenient that they're getting all this heat about how they're tanking, and then the next day, oh gosh, you know what? Looks like one of our stars. We just discovered he's going to need surgery, and he'll be out for the rest of the year.
Well,
sorry.
From what I've heard of Tony Jones, and if you're listening down on the Wasatch Front, he was on 97.5, and I wouldn't listen to some of this. And then there's other reporting. I keep forgetting where all it's coming from. I should source my stuff better, but from beat writers and especially Tony Jones, a lot of this information is coming from them. Where Jaren Jackson Jr. apparently this is something because it's something you can play on. He could play the rest of the season if he wanted to. So the Jazz are choosing to shut him down when they could otherwise have him play. That is actually important. No, but it is the kind of thing you want to get taken care of before the offseason, and in a year you're tanking. It just makes a little too much sense. But apparently he wanted to at least play a home game in front of the Jazz, or in front of the Delta Center. So that was 2 road games, finally a home game, and that's where they say, all right, now we're going to work. You've played in front of the fans, you've played 3 games, you've shown what you can do, you've played with Lauri Markkanen. So apparently our thoughts of pairing him with Lauri Markkanen to see what they can do, it was more along the lines of, I want to at least play a little bit before getting shut down for the year.
And that I get that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because he understands they do this for the fans. Like, they want to play in front of a crowd that cheers them on and supports them. And he wants to introduce himself to the local fans. He was interviewed after the game. He was on the mic in the arena, and he's cheering on the crowd and how neat it is to be here, and how his mom used to take him skiing up in Park City when he was a kid. So, I mean, that's cool to see that and see him actually on the court rather than they trade for some guy who's just in street clothes. What's his future even going to look like?
Yeah. And another interesting nugget, and this one specifically from Tony Jones, where to essentially summarize what he said, the reason that we have all of this, people, all these talking heads freaking out about the Jazz tanking as opposed to freaking out about the seven other teams,
Indiana, Brooklyn,
the teams that weren't even
Portland,
playing their players at all. The Jazz were at
Washington.
least, they were at least putting their players out there for a minute before shutting them down. Apparently, that was just Oklahoma City getting a bee in their bonnet over the fact that they're probably not going to get that pick from the Jazz, and basically sending out marching orders to all these different media outlets. They have connections to, because that's how all these news reporters break stories. Is they have conversations with people in the athletics departments, the agents and whatnot. And so when you give that information, sometimes you can call in these favors, and it's like they're basically planting this story of, and basically trying to pressure the Jazz to actually play so that Oklahoma City can get that lottery pick. That's apparently that was Tony Jones's claim.
Which I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah, because the thing is, Oklahoma City, the pick that the Jazz are keeping from them is one that they traded to them in that Derek Favors salary dump. But for like 3 years now, it's had a protection slowly decreasing, because it was like top 14. Then I think it was like top 10 or top 12. Now it's top 8. If it doesn't convey this year, which the Jazz are trying for darn sure to make sure it doesn't convey, they don't get anything. It doesn't go down to like top 4 protected next year. It just goes away. It
disappears.
That was just part of the deal. Sometimes, they'll have these protections, then it'll like turn into a second round pick if it never conveys. But Oklahoma City gets nothing out of that trade ultimately, aside from Derek Favors, and maybe there was cash considerations in there, but they'll ultimately get nothing. And so Oklahoma City's probably like, well, what the heck? We want that pick. And so basically they're trying to drum up and get all these media people to try and get Adam Silver to punish the Jazz. Because like Jeff Goodman and somebody tweeted this out, Tavin Parker, one of the guys I know, his social media might be protected at this point, but like he pointed out that Jeff Goodman a while back tweeted out about the Washington Wizards saying they have to shut Anthony Davis down and tank. Like saying that they've got to do that. That's clearly the thing that they should do. But then when the news about Jaren Jackson Jr. came out, he was singing a whole different tune. So this is what he said about the Wizards. Says Wizards have to sit AD even if he is healthy. Got to tank and have a shot at one of the top draft picks. This draft is loaded. Here's what he said, quote, tweeting the news about Jaren Jackson Jr. being sat out for the rest of the year. This tanking is getting out of control. Going to be almost a quarter of the league trying to tank after the All-Star break. Adam Silver needs to do something about this for the future of the league.
Oh, my word. The hypocrisy, the virtue signaling.
Yeah.
And can I find some egg and crack it on his face?
Yeah. And
it's so blatantly stupid.
Yeah. And he's one of those guys that is basically getting marching orders from these, again, executives and all that who are calling in a favor. Hey, I need you to run this story because I want this narrative to be out there. Because that's the stuff that'll happen to a lot of these reporters. They get told, you need to run this, like social media, run a story, because I want this narrative out there. That's where, for instance, the Warriors, that whole thing about Jonathan Kuminga's family stealing food, or not stealing, but like taking too much food from the locker room. That's the kind of crap, because they're sending Jonathan Kuminga out and trying to make him look terrible.
Right.
That's the stuff that ends up getting leaked and talked about, because people, either agents or, again, team executives, because they both played this game, they're trying to control the narrative. And so Oklahoma City just trying to paint the Jazz as the villain because they're upset that they're not going to get their first round pick.
Totally acceptable what Sacramento did last night.
Yeah.
What Indiana did last night. But heaven forbid Utah actually play their players for a minute.
And like Bobby Marks, this is a guy who's an executive, a former executive. Think he doesn't talk to Oklahoma City? And so he's being like, they're talking, and it's like, hey, I need you to go on First Take or whatever and throw this narrative out that it's the Jazz who are the problem. And thankfully some media have like pointed out, hey, it is everybody, but they're mostly capitalizing on all the hate that's going toward the Jazz.
Yeah.
All right, so enough talking about the Jazz. That's 3 days in a row we've talked about this. I'm kind of getting sick of it. I've gone on the same rant about 3 different times.
But we do need to mention this. This is real quick. News today, Ace Bailey, he has been named to the Rising Stars team. So he will be participating in All-Star festivities this weekend. Good for him.
There we go. We've got Pick 6 coming up next. The 6 things that we think will happen over the weekend. I predict Jaren Jackson Jr. won't play for the Jazz. Well, he won't be playing
this weekend?
On that day, this weekend. He'll play for him next year. But we'll have Pick 6 coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Hi friends, this is Lydia at The Sportsman on Main Street. At The Sportsman, we try really hard to find unique products. For women, this is our first season carrying Free People movement, and you will love it. We also have great fresh looks from Viore, Pendleton, Cool, and Birkenstock. For the men, you will love our new shirts, jackets, sweaters, and pants from Cool, Fjallraven, Viore, and Pendleton. From colognes and perfumes to skis, we've got you covered.
Welcome, friend, nice to see you again at The Sportsman.
In downtown Logan.
Winter's here, and that old car sitting in the driveway isn't getting any warmer. Turn that frozen junker into cold hard cash with DD Auto and Salvage in Logan. It's never too cold, too wet, or too late to clean up and cash out. DD Auto and Salvage makes it quick and easy. They'll even pick it up for you. Get the most money possible for junk vehicles or scrap metal. Clear it out. Get the cash today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. And let DD Auto and Salvage pay you today. DD Auto and Salvage. Cold cars turned into hot cash.
We're talking with Tyson from Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning about air quality.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that the air inside your home is 5 times worse than the air outside.
So Tyson, what can people do?
We install steam humidifiers into homes. Steam humidifiers use 1 gallon of water per hour, and they use 100% of that 1 gallon to humidify the air in your home. So if you call Mountain Valley, we'll come out and do a free assessment and see if it's a good fit for you. The phone number is 435-753-5170.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. This Valentine's Day, spend more time with your significant other in bed. Have romance, watch movies, sleep close. Do it on a brand new mattress from My Mattress and save money during our Valentine's Day sale. Oh, and get tickets to Lionheart Hall's Curtains and Cuisine Dinner Theater. It's the week of Valentine's Day for date night. Go to the dinner and show, have a nice mattress waiting for you when you get home for Valentine's Day. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. And Eric, we were talking about what the prime of various careers in football are briefly. 5338 asking, and I'll defer this to you. You're the expert here. What is the prime for radio talk show hosts?
Yeah, good question.
You don't know?
Up to interpretation, I guess.
Up to interpretation. We'll see.
30s and 40s?
Yeah. 30s, 40s. I'm in my 30s, so.
And I'm in my 40s.
There we go.
Yeah.
8968 saying, the Jazz tanking won't hurt the integrity of the league. How do you hurt something that is hopelessly broke?
Fair question.
That is true. Like all the gambling and all that crap. That's the problem with the integrity of the league, not tanking. So let's get into pick 6. 6 things we think will happen this weekend.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day.
No way. It's the Full Court Press Pick 6.
Ever since March Madness ended, I am so bored.
6 things we think will happen this weekend.
I don't know how the whole betting thing started, but it's fun.
All right, pick 6. So I won last week narrowly, but I did win.
Came down to the wire. Came down to the tiebreaker.
So let's, that means that I get to pick who goes first, and I think I'll let you go first, Eric.
Okay. A couple of All-Star Weekend lines for me. Ace Bailey, as we just mentioned, he's going to be participating in the Rising Stars Game, points, rebounds, and assists by Ace Bailey. 8.5.
So in the Rising Stars, 8.5.
Combined points, rebounds, and assists.
I'll say under.
I'll take the over.
All right.
Donovan Mitchell, he's participating in the 3-point shootout. And apparently he's going to be repping Sam Merrill while he's there. So in the 3-point shootout, Donovan Mitchell or the field? He has the best percentages and on wide open threes among the field.
I'll take the field.
All right, I'm going to take Donovan Mitchell.
All right.
And then in the Olympics, Team USA takes on Denmark in hockey on Saturday. USA by 3.5 goals.
I'll take the U.S.
Okay, I'm going to take Denmark to cover.
Unpatriotic is Eric.
Be on USA Network, by the way, Saturday afternoon.
Fitting.
Or late morning.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Fitting to be on the USA Network.
Oh, yes, of course.
All right, now for me, so Utah State taking on Memphis this weekend. Points scored by the Aggies against Memphis, who have a top 30 defense. Over under 76.5.
I'm going to take the under.
All right. I'm going to take the over.
Okay.
And Nevada taking on San Diego State this weekend. Who will have more points? Reese Dixon-Waters or Elijah Price?
Ooh. I'm going to say Elijah Price.
All right. I'm going to say Reese Dixon-Waters.
Okay.
And then Isaiah Collier, the Jazz playing Portland tonight. How many assists will Isaiah Collier have? Over, under, 9.5.
I'm going to take the under.
Take the under? Is he not playing?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to play.
He sounded way too confident on that for a guy who's been averaging about 10 assists.
He has been
last
dishing
couple
a
of
lot.
weeks.
Yes.
I'll take the over. And then the tiebreaker. Another college basketball, though not related to the Mountain West. Number 5, Iowa State is favored by 5.5 over number 9, Kansas. The same Kansas team who beat number 1 Arizona without Darren Peterson.
So I'm just picking the winner?
Picking the spread, 5.5.
Oh, 5.5?
For Iowa State.
For Iowa State.
Who I believe is at home.
I'm going to take Kansas to cover.
Kansas. All right, that gives me Iowa State. So there we go. That's pick 6.
A couple of the things to make you aware of this weekend. We got high school hoops last night in girls basketball. It was a couple of teams taking care of business. And Skyview beat Crimson Cliffs 60-42. So they advanced. We got 4 teams involved on Saturday. Bear River went down to Judge Memorial, got down by quite a bit, but fought their way back. They had a good second half, but unfortunately just not enough. And Bear River loses to Judge Memorial, so they are out. But 4 local teams involved in girls basketball in the second round on Saturday. And we've got 3 teams that we're going to be following in the boys' second round on Friday nights.
There we go.
So we'll making arrangements to get as many of these games as possible available on Cache Valley Daily and broadcast on local radio.
Yeah, so a lot of sports happening on our local radio waves. Of course, as always, we have our KVNU Aggie Game Day, since we'll have that on Saturday as well. So busy Saturday of basketball.
Yeah, and we got some big college basketball games that'll be here on the Fan on Saturday late morning. So no shortage of games to listen to or watch or follow along with our radio stations and Cache Valley Daily.
Yeah, we got wall-to-wall coverage here. It is all sports all day.
Yes.
And Aggie sports and local sports a lot as well.
Yeah. So and you can always check back to watch replays, archives of these games, photo galleries, and check out some of the emotion of those games and how it all played out. So, yeah, try to do what we can to get as much coverage as possible.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to tune in tomorrow.
The home for Sports Talk Radio. KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.